Hey guys, Magnus Robert here, bringing you another Dead Walking Dead character video. The character we are looking at today is a big one, and that is of course Sebastian Milton, son to Pamela Milton and grandson to President William Milton. Let's get into looking at this spoiled little rich brat. Sebastian is of course male. He is played by Theo Rapp Olsen. He is early to mid-20s and first appeared in Promises Broken. Sebastian was born to Pamela, who was the daughter of a former president of the United States. Sebastian wasn't alive during his grandfather's term, but he certainly felt the glory, as his family were extremely wealthy and powerful. He also had an older brother. Pamela herself was also a politician, and Sebastian was likely a student when the outbreak began. However, it's clear he was emotionally neglected by his mother, who much preferred her other son. Some point before the outbreak, Sebastian befriended a guy called Cooper, whose father was the president of the SDS Bank. Sebastian knew about a panic room filled with cash and drugs that Cooper's dad built inside of his house. When the outbreak began, Sebastian's grandfather and mother somehow founded the Commonwealth, which grew to be about 50,000 strong. His grandfather died eventually, and his mother was elected to be in charge to replace him. The community also kept a capitalist economy and the US dollar as its currency, and Sebastian benefited from this as he was in immense wealth, doing what he wanted when he wanted to do it. But he was greedy and always wanted more. Sebastian would threaten desperate people to retrieve cash from Cooper's house, and one of these people was April Martins. All of these people ended up being unsuccessful and died trying to get the cash, meaning that Sebastian had a lot of blood on his hand, about 40 odd people. At some point his brother died too. Sad. He also had troopers under his command such as Alvarez and Castle, and at some point too he also started a relationship with a girl named Kayla. In Season 11, Sebastian is first seen on a date with Kayla outside of the walls. He walks past where Princess Eugene and Zeke are working and comments to Mercer, who is escorting and protecting him, that it is too close to the Nasty's working area and that it's a bit smelly. Later, whilst on the date, Sebastian smooches with Kayla, not noticing some walkers approaching. He soon does though, and watches Eugene and Shira take out the zombies in his aid. Sebastian then comes over to complain that they disrupted his and Kayla's date. Eugene points out though that they saved his life and he shouldn't be so rude, Hoss. Sebastian laughs at the term Hoss. Eugene demands an apology or a thank you and begins to argue with Sebastian, and whilst they're arguing, Shira kills a zombie that's about to grab Kayla, getting her covered in blood. Sebastian calls her a stupid bitch, and Eugene punches Sebastian. Nice. Out of nowhere, Lance and Mercer run over, and Sebastian shows them what they did to Kayla. Sebastian then berates Mercer, saying it's his fault as he wasn't here protecting him, and Sebastian then says that Eugene attacked him, and then checks on Kayla as Eugene is arrested. Some months later, Sebastian and Mercer are heading out into the woods for advanced military training, joined by Rosita and Daryl. Mercer points out Rosita doesn't need to be here, but Sebastian says it's alright because he loves volunteers, especially ones that look like her. Daryl notices it's all their weapons, but before he can argue with Mercer, Sebastian starts going on about advanced military training and all that jazz. Sebastian throws away a knife and picks up Judith's katana. Daryl asks him to be careful, but Sebastian calls it a toothpick and throws it away. He tries cosplaying as Daryl Dixon, wields some weapons, and then fails at using the Morning Star. Daryl tries to tell him, but Sebastian says it's pathetic and it belongs on a wall. Sebastian asks Mercer to release the rotters from the shipping container. He readies himself, and Daryl gives him a pat on the shoulder as the zombies approach. He kills the first one fine, and then struggles with the second. As he struggles to kill it, Daryl intervenes and kills it for him, causing Sebastian to get all mad. He laughs at the prospect of Daryl becoming a soldier to Mercer, and then sees his mother out and about and has a little sad face on him before running to catch up with his mummy dearest. Later that night, Sebastian is seen attending the fancy cocktail Halloween party. He greets the crowd outside as photographers take his picture. He fixes Daryl's collar randomly and then enters the party. He takes a seat at the stage with a girl who is not Kayla. I'm unsure what's happening here. He pours a drink as his mother gives her little speech and then watches Tyler's outburst where he takes Max hostage. Eventually, Tyler lets Max go and runs off, and Sebastian looks to Mercer and shouts at him to go after Tyler. Eventually, Sebastian catches Daryl in the haunted house and sees he's captured Tyler. However, Daryl hands Tyler to Sebastian so he can take the credit. He then walks off and claims the capture as his own, being clapped by all the people as he drags Tyler back into the ballroom. Pamela then congratulates her son for capturing the man, and Tyler is then taken away by some troopers. Some point after this, Sebastian had his line of credit cancelled by his mother, making him angry. Sebastian is seen again arriving at the trooper station with Kayla, and he hangs with some troopers. He gives Daryl a little nod. He brags to the troopers that he is a big, brave boy around the Rosses, and that his heart rate increases. As Daryl walks by, he asks for Daryl to back him up, but Daryl gives a little sarcastic clap and a not very convincing yeah, and this embarrasses poor old Sebastian. Presumably after this, Sebastian got Alvarez and Castle to collect Daryl and Rosita for another one of his heist schemes, maybe spurred on by the fact that he embarrassed him. Sebastian waits for them to arrive at the field overlooking Cooper's house, and when Rosita questions if they want her and Daryl to take out the zombies, Sebastian emerges like a true villain, saying, "You're going to go through them with the guts trick." He explains his friend Cooper to Daryl, and that he wants the money in the safe that is in the panic room, so he has some hard cash because of his credit being cancelled by his mother. Rosita questions it, and Sebastian calls her Sweetie. Very nice. He explains that Alvarez and Castle can't do it because of the tracked bullets that they use, and that also they're not as capable as Daryl and Rosita. Sebastian says he believes in them, and begins to hand them the code, but Daryl refuses to do it. He instructs a soldier to kill a walker he's brought, and tells Daryl and Rosita to slam themselves up, but Daryl says, "Or what?" and walks away. Sebastian then brings up RJ, Judith, and Coco, causing Daryl to take a knife out on the little shit. Daryl says if he threatens his kids, he will gut him, but Sebastian says he wasn't threatening, he was suggesting making their lives easier. Alvarez suggests making them orphans, and Sebastian ponders the thought, and Rosita gives in, saying if we do this, then that's it, and Sebastian agrees to these terms, and is let go by Daryl, to then leave to attempt the heist. Sebastian clearly gets bored or something because he doesn't hang around at the field, and he returns back to the Commonwealth, leaving Alvarez and Castle to finish up. He later returns to his trooper station and sees Rosita and Daryl alive and well. He asks how it went, and Daryl points to the bag of cash. Sebastian gets all excited, saying well done, as he, flips through all that money. He asks about Alvarez and Castle, and Mercer coldly says they didn't make it. Sebastian isn't too fazed and moves on pretty quickly. He gives Daryl his cut and says congrats once more, saying that he's glad he and Daryl are friends again. He then leaves to go spend the cash on his lavish lifestyle. At some point after, Sebastian tries to contact his mother but gets no real response, so he goes to her office bumping into Max, who has a folder in her hands. He knocks, scaring her, and says sorry. Also, he seems kinda drunk in this scene, or maybe high. Sebastian asks if his mom is pissed at him because he can't reach her, and demands Max get her now. Max tells Sebastian that she can get word to her because she's at a dinner. Sebastian mocks and laughs at the prospect of getting word to his own mother like he's an appointment. Max tries to get away, but Sebastian complains that she never stops working and points out that she's even bringing work home with her. He grabs the file that Max is holding, knocking it to the floor, and Sebastian fights for possession of it. She says she's had too much coffee and is being clumsy today, and Sebastian stares Max down before saying, yeah, it's a poor man's drug. He flicks her chin and then leaves, allowing her to keep the folder. Off-screen, Sebastian learned about his crimes being exposed to the public and went into hiding in a secret room. There, he drank himself to sleep. Carol and Negan eventually find Sebastian passed out and they wake him up. He asks how they got in and he goes for a gun, but Negan stomps on his foot, stopping him. Negan gets off him and grabs the gun, and Sebastian holds his sore arm. He asks Negan does he know who he is, and Negan asks him if he knows who he is. He asks what they want, and Carol tells him to get up as they're taking him to Pamela. He says that his mother doesn't care, but Carol says yes she does. Negan says it's time to rethink his options and suggests he goes with what Carol is advising because she's magical or something. Sebastian ponders it and asks if she can really help, and then proceeds to go with Carol. He's out on the street with Carol and Negan in this crappy disguise, and it doesn't take long for a citizen to notice him and shout about seeing Sebastian. Negan stays back to distract the man as Carol and Sebastian carry on. In the morning, Sebastian is able to meet back up with his mother, still being escorted by Carol. Pamela hugs her son, but then slaps him, saying he has humiliated her and himself. He tells Carol he shouldn't have come, but Pamela gets violent, grabbing him, asking her son what does he have to do with all of this commotion. Sebastian lies, saying the story is all a lie, and she demands the whole truth if he wants her to save his ass. Carol says she has something to offer and explains that Lance could be used as a scapegoat for Sebastian's crimes. Sebastian seems on board with this idea. Later, Sebastian watches as his mother pins all of his crimes on Lance. He is then at his mother's office listening to a recording of his grandfather giving a speech, as Sebastian is expected by his mother to do the same. Sebastian is handed a script by Max and he begins to read it off, bored and uninspired by it. He scrunches it up, saying it's crap, and says he doesn't need this because his name is everything. Pamela shouts at her son, saying he's been too stupid and needs to prove himself to the people and show that he is William Milton's grandson. He agrees, and Pamela adds he was born to rule the Commonwealth. He's seen again practicing his speech when Max visits him, unknown to him, to be secretly recording him. Max hands him a drink and he complains that his mother really wanted all of this for his brother, not him, and that he is just her lackey. Max suggests adding some truth to the speech, but Sebastian says that people don't want truth. He says the Commonwealth is built on people buying into lies, that poor people believe that they can rise to be rich, but it's all a joke. He then says that the poor stay poor so the rich can do whatever they like, that they're never going to change their situation, and that his mother even rigs the lottery. He closes his rant saying that the people don't want honesty, and that they're too stupid to see the truth for themselves. Max suggests maybe he just plays the spoiled asshole, means there is no one to disappoint. Max then leaves, letting Sebastian ponder on that thought. Sebastian later attends the Founders' Day celebrations. He watches and cheers at the wrestling match, and after the match, they get the lottery balls ready and begin to address their people. Sebastian listens as his mother thanks the wrestlers and then hands the mic to him. He begins to read from the prepared script before stopping and closing it, going freestyle instead. He acknowledges to the people that he is not liked, and he says he knows he has a long road ahead to earn their trust, but he's also quite humble and says he doesn't have the words to describe what the Commonwealth means to him. He then brings up his grandfather and suggests they listen to the wise words from him as he looks to Max. However, his conversation with Max is played instead, and the crowd begin to hear Sebastian's harsh words. He turns to his mother, who is also in shock, and the crowd begin to turn on him, and he spots Max in the crowd and shouts, "You bitch." Sebastian runs after Max, pushing past angry residents. He grabs her arm at one point, but the fleeing crowd who are running away from some zombies allow Max to get free. He shouts, "Get back here, you are dead." Sebastian then catches up to her, grabbing her and calling her a bitch again. He says she is nothing, and he sees a zombie approaching and throws Max into the zombie, trying to kill her. He watches as she struggles with the zombie like the sociopath he is. However, Eugene suddenly body slams the zombie onto Sebastian instead. Sebastian falls to the ground with the zombie on top of him. He cries for help as he struggles, but the crowd just watch. No one tries to help him. He pushes her off of him and tries to get back to his feet, but the zombie grabs his shoulders and does this to Sebastian. Throat ripped out by a zombie cleaning crew worker. The zombie is then shot and killed by Judith, but Sebastian then chokes on his blood and dies. We then hear that recording again as he perishes. Nice. His body is brought to the morgue and strapped down to a table where Pamela begins to mourn her son. Soon he reanimates on the table. Zombie Sebastian is later brought to Lance's cell on a strap and a leash. He snarls at Lance, and when his leash is taken off, he even snaps at his mother. He is chained up in Lance's cell along with Lance, and Lance is forced to feed zombie Sebastian chopped up bits of Roman Calhoun. And Sebastian ate a lot of that dude, holy shit. A chained up Sebastian slips and slides on the cell floor as Daryl and Carol walk in. Daryl then takes his knife and stabs Walker Sebastian in the head, putting him down for good. R.I.P. Sebastian Milton. His body will likely be buried by Pamela, if she's still alive to do so, that is. Who knows what will happen in these last few episodes. Wow, that was a long one, and there is still a little bit to say on this guy. It is pretty wild that they killed him off, seeing as his comic book counterpart kills Rick Grimes himself. I mean, I knew that they wouldn't go in that direction, as obviously Rick isn't here, but it was a super bold and smart move to kill off Sebastian here and make Pamela a villain instead of what went down in the comics. The Commonwealth comic book storyline is super boring in my opinion, so I am glad that they are not following it like they sometimes do with other, story arcs. I do feel that TV show Sebastian was sometimes written a little corny and on the nose, like, yeah, we get it, he's a spoiled rich asshole, but he was an interesting parallel to real life assholes, I guess. However, hate him all you want, I do think they humanized him somewhat. He clearly wasn't loved very much by his mother. She abused him emotionally and physically, so the real reason why he turned out the way he did was her. Sebastian was spoiled and rotten because Pamela spoiled him and made him rotten. I think it is fitting as well that he's killed by a zombie cleaner too. Highest of the high, killed by the lowest of the low. He was definitely a memorable character, seeing as he wasn't in that many episodes, but he really made a splash on the screen. Although, can't say I'll miss him much. Anyway, tell me your thoughts on Sebastian Milton. Did you like the adaptation of him to the TV series? And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to be covering another big character, hint hint, or if I'm going to leave it for a bit because said character is still credited. I'm not sure, but either way, I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.